All right, welcome to the Socality Show. My name is Scott Bakken, and we are excited for this conversation today. I have my guests with me, Joey and Christy Speers, all the way from California.
What's up?
California.
Yeah, and of course we got Tyler, T-Dove.
All the way from California.
Who's known for his phenomenal Bay outfits.
The fit
Bay.
checks. Costco.
Costco.
You do rock the Costco.
I do rock the Costco way more than I should.
I was walking through Costco the other day, and I thought, it's amazing that people buy their clothes from there.
You know what? Costco's got some screaming deals.
They've got screaming.
I'm a massive fan of Costco. I was going to say, can we start the podcast with getting a fit check? Yeah. Can Tyler give us a fit check?
I don't do this for free anymore.
Good. You always look good. You always look good.
At least give us the top. What do you got on the top?
This is from Target in the States.
It's a cool shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know what I would have guessed? I would have guessed Mark's Work Warehouse. They got some really good shirts like that.
They do.
What's the brand? Denver Haze, I think
Denver
it is.
Haze.
Yeah, they got some good stuff at
I've
Mark's.
worked with Marks.
Okay, cool.
Many times.
There you go.
It's Marks now.
Oh, it's not
Yeah,
Mark's
Works
Work Warehouse.
No, the Works warehouse is gone.
Oh, it's just
They're very adamant about that.
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know it. Looks like you're rocking Mark's.
I'm rocking Marks.
All right. Well, we're excited. We're excited for a great conversation. So for everybody listening, we've recently launched a whole Socality membership all about building community in a stronger way through mentors and mentorship. And Joey and Christy are part of that. And so you're here. We're doing this podcast with you, but you're here as part of that program for tonight. And so
That's right.
we're excited that you're here. We're excited that you're a part of investing in people. So for those who don't know you, and are learning you, why don't you introduce yourself, Joey and Christy? Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Christy. This is my husband, Joey, from California. Joey originally hails from Canada, though.
Yes.
Me and a bunch of Canadians up here. But we run a educational platform called Creativ Rise. We both individually built our own businesses in the creative space. I was in the wedding space. He was in the brand and then agency and kind of all that stuff.
Brand
space.
strategy,
Brand strategy, all that good stuff. And then now we work together and help other people build similar businesses and have the freedom and the cool stuff that comes along with, getting to succeed at doing what you love. So
Yeah. We still run our own creative businesses.
Yes.
Right.
But through the learnings of everything we've learned over the last, I started a decade ago. You were around the same time.
Yeah.
So put it together, almost 20 years of industry experience. We share the things that we've learned because our heart, like honestly, dead serious. Like I sometimes get like kept up at night thinking about people that are so talented, probably actually way more talented than I am,
Right.
that just don't know how to make money with it. Therefore, they never actually end up getting to like pursue their gift in full because they're working 40 hours, 50 hours a week doing something else that they don't enjoy as much as if they were able to go shoot for a living or something, right? So that is our goal. We're trying to create a world where more creatives get paid to do what they love, get to succeed at doing what they love. So we, as Christy said, Creativ Rise is an online education business platform. So it teaches you business so you can actually run one. That's the whole point. That's what we do. We have a podcast as well. So,
Nice.
Yeah, we're excited to be podcasting.
Yeah,
'cause
podcast buddies.
We love talking about it. And we
Jesse
are...
Scott.
to carry on the Socality trend, we're huge fans of Socality. We've been around Socality for a while. Helped out hosting events and stuff, the Toronto stuff, and big fans of the whole team here. Huge fan of you, Scott, and everything you're doing, and we love the membership too. So we are mentors in the membership, which means if you join the membership, we're going to get to chat and hang out and, do some stuff, jump on the mastermind call. We're actually doing it tonight. Yeah. So by the time this podcast comes out, it will be over, but the recording's there. And
that's right, forever.
I'm going to encourage you to go watch the recording because we put a lot of work into making it incredibly beneficial for you. So I think you'll get the money back times like 10x just on tonight's recording.
100%.
Which is our goal.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm so pumped for all of our listeners right now and all of our community watching, listening to this, because you guys are so passionate about helping people move into not only their giftings and abilities, but monetizing it.
Yes.
Where
that's what we care about.
You help them overcome the humps or the battles or the blind spots that they're not seeing. And that's why I'm so excited for you to be in the mastermind and help people in the mentorship. But I know through Creativ Rise, this is what you do, and you have so many success stories. And so where did you guys get the passion to even want to help people? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. So, you could probably tie this way back to my story. You've probably got a piece of this too, where we can tie it back, but I won't fully get into it. But I was a really, really bad kid at school.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I was a naughty little kid.
We need at least one story from
So I've got a lot of ADHD. I've got diagnosed learning disabilities, diagnosed ADHD. I know those terms are people have thrown around today.
It
2024.
feels like everybody has ADHD now.
I have a processing disorder.
Okay.
So my brain does not process information in certain ways of learning the same way most people do, or at least the way that the education system is built for. So I really struggled. So I reverted to different ways for me to find enjoyment throughout the day, which typically was challenging authority. So I got in a lot of trouble. Long story short, I had a really, really tough education path because I just felt like I was misunderstood. I was mislabeled. And when you build labels as a kid, it's hard to get away from those. Anyways, first day of grade 8 happens. I'm going to give you the short story. First day of grade 8 happens. I rock up, get put in a class with a teacher who threw a chair at me the year before. She hated me. She was horrible. She hated me. And I was like, we're about to battle all year. And then she reads a list. She says, if I just read your name, first day, grade 8, you're so excited. You're like, this is my last year. You're going to go to high school next year. She says, if I just read your name, pick up your chair. You can picture those like little blue metal chairs.
Oh yeah,
that's
plastic
right.
metal chairs.
Yes, yeah.
And seriously, like picking them up, throw at each other. But she goes, pick it up and you're going to walk down the hall. We just got some new portables at our school, our little small town school. We just got some portables because our town's been growing and you actually have a new teacher that just transferred to the school out there. So I go out there with a bunch of like the bad kids. Hilariously, they got read off. And it's a long version to get to the answer here, but hopefully people will get value from this. Anyways, I walk in and there's this dude sitting there. I start talking to him and I'm like, oh, great. This is just another guy I'm going to have to frustrate because that's my track record with teachers. And he calls me up and goes, you know what these are? Picks up a bunch of papers in a folder. And I said, yeah, that's my IEP, like my individual education plan. All the things the school board says I can't do. Joey can't do this. He can't process well. He needs a scribe for tests. And he said, I just started my whole day. Our school had a meeting and all staff meeting on the first day of school, everyone just told me about how bad you were and how I was going to hate my year. Doesn't sound like anyone's ever taught you how to run and jump. These aren't walls. They're just hurdles. I'm going to teach you how to do that. So that changed my life. I almost cried first day of grade 8. And that journey of that year was him teaching me how to teach myself how to learn. So I was learning how to self-develop, which I never really had any teachers teach me how to do. Anyways, I got really into business, started my business that next year as a 9th grader. I was 14 years old and I just fell in love with it. But what I more fell in love was the fact that I could teach myself how to do it in ways I love to do it. So as I grew my own business, I eventually started, took me 5 years to hit 6 figures, which sounds really long. I was 19 when I hit 6 figures. And I started looking at a lot of the creatives around me, especially my age. And I was going, man, like they're struggling quite a bit. I've been at this a lot longer than most people have for my age. And I'm realizing a lot of people they're really, really hung up on the business things. I've learned a few things about the business things. I've had to teach myself. I wonder what it would look like if I could teach somebody else same way that guy taught me how to teach themselves about business. Yeah. And so I kind of started as an experiment after I had built my own business and continued to build my own business. I started helping some friends and it spun into what it is today. We've intimately coached going on, by the time this podcast maybe comes out, over 300 people, helping them build 6-figure foundations for their business in the brand space, the wedding space, photo, video, agency style, influencer, designers. That was a really long answer to get there, but I have a deep, deep passion within me to help people look at where they are, which is what this teacher did. He said, hey, here's what you're living in, the labels you're living under right now, and those labels come with outcomes. We can rewrite that.
Right.
If you learn how to rewrite that, you can actually get these outcomes in life. And it was tremendously helpful for me. And so as much as, yes, our day-to-day is me working with clients in my own business, which is a lot of brand strategy, photo, video, which is actually funny because that's actually helping me relabel who they also want to be with content and all that stuff so they can create a better outcome for their future. We also then do the same thing by teaching creatives business. So it's a really deep-seated thing in me. There's a long answer to get there, but I'm really passionate about it because I hate the fact that there's a lot of creatives, especially in the world we live in today. There's so much opportunity. You know this. You guys know this. Yet they can't crack it. They can't figure it out. Everything is gate kept, especially business stuff. People don't want to share what's working from a business perspective. And I'm over that. You're over that. So when we met, we started doing that together. She covers the wedding side of the industry really well. She's killer at that. She excelled in that really well. And then I've got the decade of experience in the brand side, so commercial side. So that's where it comes from for me. Right. Long answer, but
yeah, no, that's awesome.
Maybe some people can relate.
I'm much shorter winded than Joey, but I would say I just think we're at our best when we know how to progress, and when we're able to progress in something that we really care about, whether it's relationships, whether it's in our business, whether it's with passion that we have, and even just a hobby. Like, I think if we get stagnant, we just become miserable, sad versions of ourselves. Whereas if we can progress, I feel like people just get fulfillment even on progression itself, not even necessarily maybe hitting that whatever goal you have, but being able to move forward. And that's at least why I get so excited about building businesses and helping others build businesses, is that I just truly think we're at our best when we get to progress in something that we love. So getting to do that together is super fun.
Totally. Well, I'm excited to jump into it today because I know a lot of people listening, there's different categories of people that have made it, people are looking to scale, looking to grow, people who are just getting their foot in the door. So let's just come to this, because you work at Creativ Rise, you work with so many creators, and I'm sure that if you were to, do a sum of all their problems, there's some common problems.
Oh, absolutely.
What are some of the common things that are holding people back that you are finding with creators?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to let the long-winded person answer this? No, I'll go really short. I mean, first things first, understanding where their value is. You hear people say all the time, you got to charge your worth. You don't have worth. You're a human. Like, that you're invaluable, right? You're a human being. But what does have worth is your ability to create some type of product. It's taking your art and turning it and leveraging it as a product so it can help somebody, right? Whether that's in the wedding space, you're making the best day of someone's life memorable, or it's in the brand space, you're helping somebody solve a business problem that's going to get them more money, right? So it's figuring out how to identify that value. So that's number one. Packaging that value is second. So it's getting the confidence to understand it and the clarity on it. Packaging is number second. So that's like building offers, really making sure you understand what you're selling. Number three is obviously the networking piece of that. Like, how do I actually connect? Scott, you're the king of this. How do I actually connect with people that I am a good fit to give value to, that I'm a good fit to help, right? And then vice versa. If you get good at doing that, you're going to get paid for it. So then selling those offers is very difficult. Creatives have a hard time selling themselves. One, most of the time because they don't understand their value. So you can't sell value. You don't understand what the value is. So selling, and then obviously just all the other stuff like marketing, how to actually drive leads to your business. A lot of creators might have a good month, and the next 3 months they have no income. That's a very scary place to be. So how do you create acquisition systems that actually create a business that's predictable, or it's maybe even a reoccurring model? So how do we build a reoccurring model into your business? Scaling that, once you get those things set up, how do you scale that? And then at the end of that, I think the last bucket that's really important is how do you actually do that in a healthy way? I mean, I say this all the time on our podcast. I burnt out by the time I was 18, which sounds so stupid because it's like, dude, you're 18.
So young.
But I started when I was 14 and I worked. I mean, it was the only thing. I didn't care about school. I knew I wasn't going to post-secondary school. I was like, I'm going to build a creative business. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So I had worked so hard for 4 years. And a lot of this was I was doing it alone because I didn't really know anybody else my age that was going at the pace I was going. Like, if I could have joined the Socality membership or something at Creativ Rise when I was 15, it would have saved me a lot of trouble and headaches because I burnt myself out so quickly because I didn't know how to hustle like in a healthy way. So I've had to learn how to hustle, but doing it in a way where I've got some really good boundaries and there's some health to it. So all the things you can learn about building a great business that makes you a ton of money as a creative, which it can, are phenomenal. But if you cannot do it in a way that's actually got some longevity to it, because you're not going to burn out like crazy, it's not worth it. So those are like, I don't know, maybe it was like 5 or 6 things, but maybe 6 buckets.
Yeah, but okay, so to that point, and maybe Chrissy, you can answer this. You've just said something interesting. You're talking about you were 14 and you were doing this stuff to like people's brains are like 14. Most people sit back and relax. Where are people finding the drive? Like, was that coming to you naturally? How do you encourage people that maybe lack that drive? Like, do you find that with creators? Like, are they driven or are they just expecting things to come to them?
That's a great question. I mean, I think everybody's different, but I would say people, honestly, like when you pick something and you go for it, and this is the problem in our industry, is that people are going, oh, they're lazy. I don't think that's actually true. I just think you're unclear. You're unclear on what the goal is.
Right.
You're distracted.
What you're really going for. You're distracted. You're niche hopping.
Right.
Like niche hopping is a huge
We love talking
thing
about
in
that.
the industry.
Niche hopping.
Oh, like
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about niche hopping.
Shoot for brands.
Right.
I pitched 4 brands over the span of a week. It didn't work. This whole industry doesn't work. So I'm going to now go and shoot weddings. I'm going to try to get a wedding. I'll shoot one wedding. I didn't really like it, or, whatever. It's not popping off as I thought. Like, we tend to go through this trend where it's like the expectations are super high of either how quick it's going to happen for me or the results I'm going to get. And then I get disillusioned when it's not happening as fast as I wanted, or it's not as shiny as I wanted. Right. So most people stop there and then they switch to another niche, or they switch to another industry, or they go back to their 9 to 5. Right. When if you actually push through the disillusionment into more growth, you'll actually find that it exceeds your expectations if 100%. You push through, right? If you have the strategy and the consistency to push through the disillusionment of whatever niche you chose, I think actually you end up so good on the other side, and you're actually way more excited about it even than the, beginnings part where you're like, this is going to be so cool. Like, it actually gets better if you can push through that. Yeah. So I actually don't think people are necessarily like lazy or anything like that. I just think they're unclear about what the next step is and how to take that confidently. And if you can figure out what your next step is every single time, you're going to all of a sudden be somewhere that you never thought you could be.
And then the drive thing, when you were saying like, where did that come from at a younger age? Or even if I can point to people that we've gotten to work with, or even just friends of ours that are successful and they do build great things, I think a lot of their drive comes absolutely, like Christy said, from clarity, but it's clarity from what they don't want to do, right? So I was really clear going, I don't want to go to school, have to go through 4 more years of this, accumulate debt to get a job that I'm not excited about. That was my story. If you did that, that's great, because you probably had clarity on why that was exciting to you. That wasn't to me. So I had clarity on what I didn't want to do, which I think makes what you do want to do a little bit more apparent when you start looking at it. So all the people that we help that seem to do well, they've got pretty distinguished examples in their life of, this is what I know I don't want to do. I've tried that or it didn't go well. Or here's what I'm trying to avoid. And I think it pushes them into action. It pushes them to do things. And then that's also where a lot of people get stunted though, right? Because this is the thing about growing a business. Like, there's so many aspects of business. Even just if we isolate money, like, I don't know about you guys, most people don't grow up in homes that talk about money a ton.
Right. Yeah, no.
Most people in North America don't get financially literate from their parents. Schools 100% don't teach it. The government doesn't teach it. So even stuff like money in a business, like the second things get a little bit confusing, it often just stalls people. But if you can get in something like the Socality membership or something else, like, man, connect with people, figure out what's going on. You can jump those hoops so quickly. Yeah. And I love what you said about niche shopping. It's so good.
I think it's funny because when we look at a new business, a new opportunity, something to do, like, we're usually looking at someone who's been at it for a while, who has found their niche.
Exactly.
And there's this, so my background's in like the business world. So we both went to business school.
Yeah.
And both probably didn't learn a lot.
Both probably didn't learn a lot. Not
Are you still paying for your debt? We are.
No, I'm from Canada, so.
True.
Right, actually,
yeah. Ours is expensive. Christian's expensive
for his debt.
It's very important.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
But one of the models that we learned is this. It's like the life cycle of doing anything new, and there's 4 steps in it.
Yes.
And you've seen this, and it's
no, but I'm just agreeing.
Okay.
With
so he's like, yes, I know this. Like, what is it? Tell me more.
I like models.
Yeah.
There's 4 stages that you go through, and the first is uninformed optimism.
Yeah.
So it's that place of like, oh my gosh, everything's possible. We can do it. We've got this new idea. It's going to be so easy. It's going to work.
Yep.
And
the dreamer.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And so you've got this enthusiasm that like spikes there, and then it starts to decline as you start taking steps forward. And this is that 4 reach outs that didn't turn into landing a client.
Yeah.
You made those 4 reach outs, and now you enter stage 2, which is informed pessimism.
Yeah.
And that's the moment where you kind of come face to face with reality of like, this looked really easy, but I guess it's hard still. There's going to be some hard stuff. And from there, it actually just gets worse for a minute. And the next stage is what's called the valley of despair.
Yes.
It is.
I've been through all these stages.
Yeah, I know.
And it's multiple times.
It's aptly named because you're just like, my gosh, this is so hard. And you realize like, I thought I could only send out 4 cold emails and I'd land 2 of them.
Yeah.
Then you realize I had to send 40 to land 1 or 2. Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's when you hit this valley of despair. The only way through that is through community, through people who are like shoulder to shoulder.
Yep.
And then finally, if you do grit it out through there and you've landed on a niche, you've landed on some language, you've had some success and testimonials, then you start to get to informed optimism. That's what leads to success. But I think
That's so good.
I struggle with this. I think, Scott, you can probably say this too. We get the start. You get hooked on the uninformed optimism.
Yep.
And then you hit that pessimism or the valley of despair. And you're just like, I don't know. This isn't it. Maybe it's off to weddings. Maybe it's this other niche. Maybe it's this other niche. And that is the most excruciating cycle to live in.
Yeah.
Because it's expensive for energy and totally unrewarding and very discouraging. So I love what you're talking about in terms of like, you have to commit to it and keep going through it. And I know a lot of what you guys are doing with Creativ Rise centers around putting people in pods and connecting people together to hold each other accountable and be that community through the valley of despair.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we actually have a version of that.
Right.
That sounds like a really cool, expensive, like you learned that from someone who's probably built really cool businesses.
Yeah, he's got a cool
We've
hat,
made up our own version of that. But it's so similar. We say there's 4 stages to business. There's the ideation stage where you come up with the idea.
Yeah.
Then I say you then go into the build stage, which is you have to start building out the systems. You're building the practices, the habits, from that idea. Then you go into the growth stage and you're like, oh, this feels great. I'm starting to get a client or 2. People are hiring me to do their wedding. I got 2 weddings for next summer. And then you hit the last stage, which no one expects. And that is the stage of confusion. And it's like, wait a second, like what got me here is no longer working.
Totally.
And
Or it's working too well, I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, what do I do now? I'm way over my head or something's going on. And a lot of people stop there. And this is where, if you're listening to the show and that's you and you've started to build a business in the creative space and you've gotten to the point where a few things felt really good, the idea felt good, and then now you feel confused. I'm here to say it's actually a really good thing. Our take on this is the faster you can, we call it like the 4 ladder, like the 4 run ladder of success, the faster you can get to confusion. And then how do you get out of confusion? You have to go back to the idea and re-clarify it, which is then get to clarify again what your new systems are you have to build. And then you go back through the growth phase. It's like the faster you can go from idea to confusion means you grew, and then you circle back again. And the faster you can run that little ladder in a year, that means more you're going to grow. Yeah. But it's so important that we don't, as someone really look up to, a friend of ours says, you don't pitch your tent there. When you get to confusion, just don't pitch your tent. Right. Just don't camp. Don't stay there. Right? If you're confused, that's fine. But
that's probably where people give up.
Yeah. Well, that's where a lot of people pitch their tents and then they hang out. And all of a sudden there's a tent city there. And there's all these struggling,
a whole bunch of confused creators.
A whole bunch of starving artists, right? Like that's where starving syndrome. No one gets into picking up a camera going, man, I'm just really confused. I don't know if this is going to work. They pick it up. They feel so optimistic, like you said. But all of a sudden they hit that starving artist point where they're just confused and they need to circle back, re-clarify their idea, which is best done in community. Quite often you actually can't find that clarity. You need people around you to help look into your situation and say, hey, Tyler, you're actually incredible at this. Here's where I see you have some really good skills that a lot of other people don't. Dude, you just need to double down, man. Like, so community is so important. 100%.
I think what you're saying is so good. And this is absolutely amazing because I think a lot of people get stuck because what they did do isn't working anymore.
Yeah,
because the landscape keeps changing. Brands keep changing. Algorithms change. New apps, style, new content creators are coming up. And so it's forcing us to, I think what you've said is a great thing about confusion is a good spot because it gets you to get more clarity, which is what you said.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity to define and get more targeted, more focused. And so, because we can't rest on the laurels of what worked and it helps us grow, right?
Yeah.
And it helps us move forward. And you can either decide in that moment to give up or keep going deeper. So I do love that. And so this has been great. So question for you here, the creators are listening going, okay, this all sounds good and fine, but there's so many creators out there right now. It's such a saturated market. Is it possible to still do this as a full-time living in such a saturated market?
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. I actually think when people talk about saturated market, they're like, oh, the saturation. And they look at it from such a negative perspective of like, there's so much competition. And I'm like, no. Look how much education is going out to ideal clients. Yeah. Look how much education is coming out from people saying, oh, you need, this, or you need a wedding photographer that's like this, or you need a wedding video. Like so many people are like, oh, now the wedding video industry is so saturated. I can't succeed in that right now. And I'm like, no. If you look back 10 years, 15 years ago, almost nobody had a wedding videographer, right? And look, now the market's grown so much.
It's standard now because they've been educated. The market's been educated on it.
It's standard. Or you look at like, oh, I want to, I want to do short form for a company or chiropractors or something like that. And like 10 years ago, no chiropractor was on Instagram, right? Like nobody, none of these professionals. But because there's a whole influx in the market of more and more people entering the creative industry and trying to sell these products, more and more chiropractors are like, oh, actually, I should do that. And then they want to contact somebody in their area, and that's you, right? So I would say don't let saturation be a negative thing. Have it be like, oh, awesome. Other people are doing marketing work for me. Like, let's go.
100%.
This is awesome.
And it is, saturation is, and again, it's an opportunity to go just that one step further.
Yes.
And you ride the saturation, as Christy's saying, which is educating the world on why your services are of need, which is incredible. If you are the only person in your market, nobody else in your entire city, state, province, country does what you do, it probably means no one's ever going to pay you for it. The fact that there's a lot of people doing this means there is money in the economy moving towards this solution. And then the best thing you do is you just take a really, really good look at what everybody's doing. And you go, how do I go just a little bit further? Like the extra mile is never crowded, right? The extra mile is never crowded. If you can just go, hey, all these people are doing brand campaigns for brands in similar locations where they're doing 4 reels, 30 images. Great. That's standard in the industry. Cool. What if I do that, but I do it in half the time, meaning my delivery time is cut in half from what most people do? What if I do it in not half amount of communication, but I double down on communication? My communication is 100% better than everybody else's communication. What if I do that with a discovery call up front so that I don't deliver the content and they go, oh, this is really cool, but it's not really the solution we were looking for, because you had a discovery call up front where you really found out what was going to make that brand money. And you checked off all the things of here's all the do's, here's all the don'ts, and you were able to kill the campaign. I can tell you right now, a lot of creators don't do that. They don't know how to lead clients through those things. Like if you can find the little ways to deliver faster, communicate better, onboard clients better, even market yourself better, the extra mile is never crowded, and you will actually be glad for the saturation.
Yeah. And if you are someone who's like, okay, everybody's offering the same thing and there really is no way to stick out in my deliverables, like it truly is being the same as everybody else. Like why would someone pay me, which is more expensive than Sally down the road, right? Like if we have the exact same deliverables, we look the exact same, what is the reason someone's going to pick someone who's more expensive? And it's only if they know, like, and trust them more, right? They know, like, and trust them more. Know them enough where they're going to feel like, oh, I'll enjoy working with them, like them enough that I'm going to enjoy to keep working with them. And then also to just value what you do in providing a really great process. You've got to focus on how do I deliver that in my brand? How do I not just have my deliverables as my brand, but how do I increase my own personal brand within my brand, right? That is truly why someone will pick a $10,000 wedding photographer versus a wedding photographer down the street who's $2,500. It's because they're like, oh, I just know, like, and trust that person's going to deliver. And I'm going to want to be around them, right? So maybe if you're struggling with like, I feel like I'm getting price cut by everyone in my, area or whatever it is, try to figure out how you can develop relationships with those people and specifically through your brand, how to build that rapport with people. I think that'll really help.
And you've done a great job of that, Scott, right?
Absolutely.
Like that is 100% from an outsider looking in, a massive component to why you have what you have, right? Like you aren't just like, oh, I'm a photographer that goes to the mountains and shoots photos of your products. You're like, yes, I can do that, and I can kill that for your brand. But I'm also Scott, and I'm so multifaceted in so many other ways. And people love to follow that. And because people love to follow that, well, what are brands? Brands are people.
Right.
Who's behind a brand? It's not some elusive monster that you'll never ever going to be able to build a relationship with, which is often what we think. I remember when I started, I was like 14 going, how am I ever going to get in touch with these big brands? They're just people, right?
They're just people.
So if people behind that brand go, oh my gosh, I have that in common with Scott, even if it's
Right.
something as simple as coffee, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Scott loves coffee. I love coffee. Yeah, I'll take a meeting with him.
Yeah.
Pitch me an idea. I like the idea. I'll take a meeting with him. I've actually been seeing him talk about coffee. It's cool.
Yeah.
We'll chat about it,
Find the common.
Yeah.
Find the common.
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
Commonality.
And you gotta be intentional about building those into your brand. I don't remember, what did we call this? We actually made a whole module on this inside of our mastermind. I can't remember what we called it. We called them like, is it common? The words not coming, but it's basically you have to pick like 3 to 4 things.
Yeah.
Don't overcomplicate it too much, but 3 to 4 things that you really want to be known for
Sure.
outside of your actual just trade.
Right.
Like what are 3 to 4 like personal things that you can infuse into your brand that
Like,
people
for
would.
instance, mine. So wedding photographer for 5 years, full time, traveled the world. It was the coolest thing ever. And I didn't even do this intentionally, but now looking back, I'm like, oh, this totally fits into that know, like, and trust thing in your brand. Is I didn't just post, photos of the wedding couples that I shot in these cool places. I would also do these 3 things. I would talk about In-N-Out
all the time.
I would always
The
go
burger
into
place.
In-N-Out,
Yes.
burger spot.
She would take
After
the bride and groom to In-N-Out too, and shoot photos there, and it's like iconic.
Like, I was like, In-N-Out is my jam. I just loved it. So I'd always go to In-N-Out. I'd always post about it. So brides would literally hire me and they would send me an In-N-Out gift card just because they were like, I just feel like I know Christy. We like it. We both like In-N-Out, all this stuff. I also trained my best friend to shoot with me. So we would go around and shoot together. So everyone was like, this is so fun to watch. Like, your guys' camaraderie, all this stuff. And then last, I traveled a ton. So I was always showing all the behind the scenes of the travel, everything like that. And I had people literally hire me based off of these 3 things that have nothing to do with wedding photography, right? Absolutely nothing to do with it. But they felt like they knew me. Therefore, they're wanted to pay a higher price point because they felt like they were hiring a friend, not a stranger, right?
Super important. Super important. And being relatable, showing personality, communicating with your audience. So we talked about people, the common pain points for people that are, struggling. What are some of the common strengths that you see in people that are helping them succeed? When you're looking and working with creators, how are you identifying, like, this person's going to make it? This person's going to win. This person's going to crush. Like, what are those traits that you see?
Yes. So there's a few of them. One of the things that I think stands out the most is we talked about this last night, Tyler. Last night, we had a little hang at the Socality House here for the Socality members who are here in Calgary. A bunch of them came through. It was really fun. And we started talking with one of them here who, a dude who was down here, he's actually been through some Creativ Rise stuff. Yeah. And you were talking about, why don't you actually explain, like, the difference between a purist and then someone who's kind of just, I don't know what you call them, like a capitalist, I guess, in the industry. Because my answer is that middle ground is the success point. Okay. So explain this.
Yeah, totally. So this came out of, we did like a bunch of potential customer interviews last summer, looking at who could be a customer of Socality and like who's in the community and how do we serve them. And so it was super fun, tons and tons of hours of just chatting with creatives. And I don't identify necessarily as like a creative, definitely not a visual creative. Music's my jam, but like not visual creative. So I'm learning a ton, and we start to notice this pattern is that basically everyone we've chatted to could be put somewhere in these 4 quadrants. So if you think about 2 ends of a scale. So on one end, we'll call it the left side, you have this kind of commercial money-making type motivation. Capitalistic. It's like, I see art, I see creativity as a really good means to make money, to make a living. And like the basis, what drives them to art is the opportunity to make money. On the right side, we got the purists, the artists. And it's totally flipped on its head, is art for art's sake. That's the motivation. And the wild thing we noticed with this is that every single person at some point or another would run into this, we called it the line of existential crisis.
Yes.
they would run into this existential crisis, and they're asking themselves the question of, man, is this it? There's got to be something more than this, more than making money. And if you're a purist, you start at $0, you're asking that question. It's like, I don't want to tarnish my art.
Yes.
Right.
By someone's like, hey, can I pay you $10 for that? Like, at least I can ruin everything if I take $10. Yeah.
Exactly. And then over on like the commercial end of things, it's like, it's the last thought. This is like, this is like you're talking to your grandkids on deathbed kind of thing. It's like, well, maybe I could have done this, but that's the 2 extremes.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking
so
about.
In the middle of that would be a purist that cares about their art, and they see their art as value from a personal perspective, but at the same time, they see the opportunity it is for it to be turned into a product, to actually solve a problem for somebody, whether in the wedding space or in the commercial space. Because of that, they can then go push forward and make money off it. That middle ground is really important. So what we are actually doing the webinar on tonight, not the webinar, the mastermind training that we're doing inside of the Socality membership tonight, we are going to be talking a little bit about how to re-identify yourself, not as just a creative, but actually re-identifying yourself as a problem solver. Right. Because business is a constant shift of money going from someone with a problem to somebody with a solution. That's all business has ever been. You needed transportation in the 1800s. What you do? You took some corn or whatever you had of value and you went to a guy with a horse and said, hey, I need to give you this value. I have a problem. I'm giving you value because I need what you have. I need your solution, right? Business is the same today. It's the same thing. Brands have problems. Brides have problems. We are in the middle of where they want to go. And if we can interject with that and go, hey, I've got a great solution for you, we are going to get paid for, right? So that is so important. So it's the identity piece. That's the first thing I'll say. And then I think again, we could go on and on about this, but I'll just say one more thing. I think that second piece is understanding that if you have a problem with your business, meaning you want your business to be more successful than it is, you're not making as much money as you wish you were, it's probably not a creative problem. If you start solving it with creative problems, you're going to be stuck. You need to solve a business problem with a business solution. Now, what is a business solution? A business solution is getting better at branding. It's getting better at developing an offer. It's getting better at selling that offer, better at marketing that offer, better at delivering that offer, better at fulfilling that offer, better at managing your money. All those things, right? Like I could go on and on and on, but so many creatives, myself included, when I started, I was like, oh, I will make more money when I get tones that look like Garrett King.
Yeah.
You know, everyone thinks that,
right?
You know, and I'm sure that is a massive reason for why Garrett makes a good amount of money. Like he is incredible at what he does. But at the same time, Garrett, if he was sitting right here, would also tell you like, no. That has to hit a certain point to be hireable. But once you're hireable, it's not about your creative that much anymore. It's about how you package it as a product and sell it. It's about understanding how what you do is a business solution to somebody. So the people, Scott, to go way back to your question, like to cycle back to it, the people that we see succeed are people that are willing to re-identify themselves, find themselves in the middle of that scale. I'm a purist, but I also know that I need to make money with this. And not that I just need to make money, but I actually, because I'm gifted, I should want to make money. Because when I make money, it means I made somebody else even more money. Right. And I helped somebody else with their dream. When I can make a brand, Scott, when you help a brand kill it with some new ad, you're making money, but you're also helping that brand owner or those shareholders, their dreams come true because their brand is growing, right? So it's understanding that first and foremost. And then it's understanding secondly, as you start to build your business, you have to look for support on the business side because we're not really taught it. Even people that went to business school, you went to business school. If I asked you right now, I need you to go out and make $100,000 in the next 7 months as a creative, you'd probably be like, gosh, I should probably go learn some things. How am I going to do that, right?
Absolutely.
So the point is, like, none of us are taught naturally how to do this. We have to learn a lot through experience, but massive shortcut if you just go to people that are already doing it and say, hey, I would love to learn from you. Can I just learn about how you're solving these business problems with business solutions? I need to learn about those, right? And there's a ton of ways you can do that. YouTube, Google, you know, Socality membership, anything we do at Creativ Rise, our weekly podcast drops every Wednesday or Thursday. We only talk about business for creatives, right? So many ways you can do that. You've got to focus on that. Creatives who only ever focus on the creative are going to be wishing they could create more because they're not able to do it full time, you know? So
what I'm hearing you say is, you know, obviously the creative skill, the creative ability, but then the ability to be a problem solver. You know,
how do you turn that into a product
for yourself and for brands and for your customer and all that? And if you're not dialed in, so how do we, so creators who are like facing this, like, oh, I need to make more money. How did they create a better offer for themselves to present? How do you create the best offer as a creator, knowing pricing, charging, like all these things where you're like, I know that I can get a brand across the line.
You join the Socality membership. It's the recording because you're going to do a 2-hour full teaching on that. But
So
no, we'll actually spill the beans on here too.
But I would say it starts with not asking the wrong question. Creatives always go, well, how do I make money doing this? Rather than how can I solve a problem for somebody? What do they need?
It's not what do I want to create?
It's what do they need? So I have some skills and some assets within the creative sphere. If I want to work with a brand, if I want to work with a bride, whatever it is, what do they need? And let me start there because people will pay for wants, of course. But what's the first thing to drop when budget hits? Wants.
Economy gets tighter.
Needs, right? If you can figure out how to make a company money, if you can figure out how to really knock it out of the park for a bride with what she actually needs, that is where you become unfireable. That's when you're the top of the budget line. That's when things start really hitting, is when you start with what do they need, not what do I want to do, right?
And then, as you said, offer, we should probably define what an offer is too. Like an offer is simply what we as a creative, so I'll use myself as an example, a photographer and filmmaker, for the last decade, I give somebody something, whether it's videos, it's photos, that's what I am offering them. And then the other half of an offer is what they give me back. So an offer is simply just how you package what you're giving somebody and what you're going to charge for it. So real quick, a couple things about offers. What you said is really good. It's the positioning on an offer needs to be, what is the market actually demanding of that's going to make somebody money or solve a massive problem for a bride on the wedding day? Let's do that rather than like the thing that I just think I want to do. Like do the thing that actually is in demand. And then a couple other things about offers. Offers scale really quickly when they're recurring. So a lot of creatives in the beginning stages, myself included, did this for years. I would just do one-off project, and I was spending like 80 to 90% of my time needing to constantly go out and market to new companies, because every time I did a job, it ended. And then I had to go find somebody else. Where if you sell a retained deal, a retainer, or some type of recurring offer, you sell it once and it keeps paying you every month and you keep doing the work, but you get all that time back that you would have been spending trying to go out and sell a one-off offer. So recurring offers are really solid. Now, you cannot sell a recurring offer unless the company has a recurring problem.
Right.
Very important. A lot of people are like, I don't understand how to build a retainer. It's like, well, just go look at a company and figure out what are the problems that every single time that clock resets, and it's now, we're in January right now, the end of January, 2nd February hits, they've got the problem again, right? Yeah. It's a recurring problem. So that's one thing. Another thing about offers that's super important is if you can do something that's simplified, especially, it doesn't have to be necessarily like it's a recurring offer, like the same company pays you for it all the time. But when I started, I mean, you could have gotten me to do anything. I have shot, I've shot outdoor brand work. I've shot car industry stuff. I've shot at dealerships. I've shot beauty and hydration stuff. I've shot skincare. I've shot at women's health clinics for a certain issue women have when they're over the age of like 50, which we won't get into the podcast, but as a like 18-year-old, talk about niche down. That was a very educational day for me. I had no idea what was going on. I have shot, athletes. I've shot sports. Right. I've shot a few weddings. Like I've shot everything. And for the longest time, while shooting everything early on in your career is really good because it builds your skill. Yeah. It also really shows you what you're good at. At some point, you have to simplify. And the reason for that is if every single time you do a job and you sell an offer, it's different, you're constantly reinventing the wheel. You never master it. You never master delivering it. You never master shooting it. You definitely never master selling it, which is the hardest thing for a lot of creatives. You never master marketing it, and you never become known for it. The best way to grow as a creative is when people go, oh, well, that's Scott. Scott is the best dude in Alberta or Canada or North America for this.
Right.
If you become known for that, like that should be everybody's goal as a creator, right? How do I become known? Like when someone hears my name, Joey Speers, what do they think of? I want them to think about a specific thing. And if they do, I'm going to get referred a ton. I'm going to become that guy. So that should be your goal. Offers need to be simplified to the point where you can master them. So you're not selling the same thing every time. It's a really big cherry on top if they're recurring because it gives you predictable revenue. And we could continue going on and on, but that's two of them that I think are really important.
I think a classic example of that is we have people come into our mastermind and they're like, I just did a project with a brand and all this stuff. It was like $500 for like 300 photos. I hope they hire me again.
Whoa.
We're like, you just worked yourself out of next month's job, right?
And you confused them.
And you confused them. You gave them too much, all of that kind of stuff.
You're never getting more money.
So it's like, oftentimes the answer is scale back. Instead of doing 200 to 300 photos for that amount, be like, okay, let's do 20 photos for the month, right? That'll get them through the month with the calendar. And then you get to re-strategize for next month to make things better, new products, all that kind of stuff. So let's go smaller deliverables is oftentimes way more valuable.
And higher quality and match the value with that price point. And then every month you got a retainer client and you're making all of a sudden 6 figures when before you're barely scraping by with 10K, right?
And exhausted from those 300 photos. Can you imagine editing 300 photos?
I'm
I know. When Christy started, I remember like one of our earlier...
Such a thing that I had to learn because I moved into the brand space and ended up building...
With some clients. I mean, like her first brand client basically was LaCroix.
Right.
Yeah.
Like one of your first, I mean, you had a few little ones, but like your first like legit big, especially a retainer.
Yes.
She's got a great relationship with them. And
Wow.
That was like crazy. But I remember being like, I delivered like 300 edited images because I'm a wedding photographer. I'm used to delivering like 1,000. Like, and Joey's like, what? Like, I can't believe you did that back in the day. I was like, I know.
Well, yeah, a couple reasons. You kind of mentioned them, but one, like you end up overworking yourself. Two, you're focused way more on just shooting a ton rather than getting the shot they need.
Yeah.
And three, when you give a brand manager 300 photos, but it's really only like 20 photos, there's just almost duplicates. Like
bunch
the
of
person's
angles.
the person's hands like lifted up a little bit more in that one. Like you're actually giving them like decision fatigue.
Yeah.
It's going to take them a ton of work to go through that. So it's way better to scale it back. Like Christy said, don't over deliver. We always say this, don't over deliver with quantity, over deliver with quality. Yeah. Right. So over deliver with the fact that you hosted them in a really solid discovery meeting prior to going out to shoot, which really gave you guys and gave them specifically a solid understanding that you were going to be able to get them their desired outcome with this campaign. Like deliver with that, over deliver with really good communication, over deliver by delivering it earlier than you said you were going to deliver it. Right. Like all those things. So that's what also makes an offer really good is not just what you're giving a client, but it's the methodology, the how in which you take them.
Right.
Like how you get a client from where they are with their problem to now they're over here and they're like, yay, yippee. Like we have what we needed. Right. How you get them there is almost more important than what you're using actually to get them there. The amount of photos, the amount of videos or whatever. And how you get them there is what's going to get you hired back.
Yeah.
Once your work hits a certain standard, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I want to throw something at you. So last night, you mentioned this already. We had a bunch of the Calgary members out to the house. We were hanging out, and I was talking to this one girl, and we were talking pricing, we were talking offers, and I said, "So what's your offer? What are you doing?" So I want to tell you almost verbatim what she told me, and I want you to refine it and tell me how you might tweak it. Okay. So what's your offer? And she said, my offer is 2 reels a week and 3 in-feed posts and 3 to 4 stories. That was the offer. So that was the framing around it, because I know you've talked about like you're solving a business problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Did she say who it was for? Like
this was they're for smaller local businesses.
So she's going out and creating 2 reels a week, 4 in-feed posts.
Yep.
So that would be like 4 photos, I'm assuming.
That's right. Some
and
carousels.
then she would create 2 stories for them to post.
Yeah, something like that. And so she'll schedule it. She'll create all the content. It'll happen on repeat.
Yeah. So that right off the bat, one, it's impressive she has an offer. A lot of creatives don't even, like if you were to ask them, hey, what do you sell?
Right.
They'd say photos.
See, this is, they don't know what they're selling.
They don't know what they're selling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm a filmmaker. It's like, but how do you package your skills into a product, right? They don't know. So the fact that she already knows that, if she's listening to this, like, great job.
Good job.
Good job. Like, you have an offer. Now, how would I maybe refine that even more? It sounds like it's a pretty good offer, because to what it sounds like to me, she is going towards brands that see the value in social. At least she should be. Mm-hmm. She shouldn't be going to people that do not see the value in social. They don't have socials already. Go to companies that already have socials. They're maybe just not as consistent as they could be or they should be. And she is going to them saying, hey, if you guys are even more consistent, if there's even a higher quality of content on here, if you're connecting with your community even more, you guys are going to make more money. Your brand's going to grow. So that's probably what she's doing, which is awesome. How I would refine that a little bit is, were you going to say something?
I was just going to add something to you.
Okay. How I was going to refine that a little bit is going, what else is leading up to her coming up with that stuff? So does she have a bi-weekly check-in call to talk about if what she is doing is really working, or if she should humble herself and go, do I need to shift my offer a little bit or shift what we're doing? Like that's the biggest thing about creatives too. We can never get it's easy to get full of ourselves thinking, well, we're the ones who spend a lot of time on Instagram. We can tell you, brand, what to do. But the data, as you're a data guy, the data speaks, right? So what is she doing? Is there a bi-weekly meeting? What was her onboarding process like?
Right.
So like, did she get a full 30 minutes of a brand strategy conversation talking about, here's the things we absolutely do not say in captions. Here's the things we absolutely do not show in videos or photos. Here's what we for sure want to say on stories. Like, did she get all that? And most creatives say, well, no, I didn't get that. I didn't do that meeting because like the brand didn't really know. So great. It's your job to help them figure that out.
Yeah.
Right. And that is what takes an offer. I don't know how much she's charging for it. I'm going to put a number on it based on what I know a lot of people in the industry charge. If she's doing that all 4 weeks a month, she's probably charging anywhere between like $700 to $2,000 a month would be probably industry standard.
Right.
If she did a phenomenal onboarding call where she led them in a brand strategy meeting and then she did a bi-weekly check-in, I think that could easily be $3,500 a month.
Right.
Easily.
Yeah.
Only because she took 30 to 40 minutes up front and she really walked them through a system that helped them really learn a lot of things about their brand. And because of that 40-minute meeting, that might save them from getting canceled in some way in case they say the wrong thing. Like you never know, right? So it's like, how do you just build a little bit more meat around that offer to make it more valuable? And it's pretty easy to improve things when you look at things like that. What were you going to say? That's probably really smart.
I was going to say, I think one thing that she could do to probably double her amount of clients that say yes to her is people naturally want to compare. So people will always take your offer and compare it to something else. So they're going to go, all right, I'm going to take Cindy's offer. I don't know why I'm using like boomer names.
I always use that name. I always come up with Linda. I know where Linda comes from, but she always makes an appearance.
Here's Cindy's offer, and then I'm going to go compare it to Susan's offer down the road, right? Whereas I think Cindy could nail a lot more clients if she would just give 2 different offers. So there's a growth package and a presence package, right? You have the presence package, which is maybe the one she's offering where it's like, hey, if you just want to get your brand online, if you want to start growing, here's what you can do. Now, tell me, Bob, another boomer name.
Another boomer.
Bob, do you really want to grow this year? Like, are you really wanting to hit these goals? Because I have another package, and it's actually the growth package, and it comes with X more reels, X more story engagement, management of the messages, whatever it is, outreach, stuff like that. Reports, all this stuff. And if you're really serious, this is the one I would genuinely recommend for you. Let's do this on trial for 3 months. And if after 3 months you don't feel like you need all this, we can downgrade you easily to the other package. So let's just try this for 3 months. If you don't like it, I will downgrade you back to the other package. No questions asked. I think she would land a lot more clients at a higher price point, and I think she would also solve the problem of the comparison thing, because they're no longer comparing you to someone else; they're comparing you against you, which is you always win.
So true. Every time we're gonna that's in our slide deck for tonight.
Oh, sweet.
When you're pricing something, you never give them one option because humans are prone to compare. So they will always take you, as Christy just said, and they will go compare you to somebody else. But if you give them 2 options that are solid offers, you're now fighting against yourself. You're winning either way, right? That is so good. And that is a mistake I made earlier on in my career. You know, I would be like, hey, here's, my pitch. Here's the offer. Here's what I can do. And it'd be like a video. Here's the price, and it's like, here's what I can do to get you X result. From what I'm hearing you tell me your goals are, this is what I recommend. Now, here's the budget on this. Does that work? And if they go, I don't know, you can go, cool. We can scale down the impact I'm going to be able to make with this. If we have to scale the budget, we're going to scale down the deliverables a little bit. Here's what it's going to be. It's only really going to get you this. It's still a good option, but let me just remind you of what you told me your goal was. If you really want to get that, we got to go with this, So
I love that. One of the things that really stood out to me with both of your answers is, as creatives, we think we're selling a reel. We think we're selling a post. We think we're selling photos. That's not what brands are buying.
Yes.
So you said it, 100%. Joey, when you in your first answer, it's like you look for customers or potential brands who are active, but maybe not that consistent. So what are you selling there? You're not selling posts. You're selling consistency.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's consistency that I clearly have not been able to do on my own, but I'm active enough so that it's clear that I think I should be there.
Yes.
Yep.
And so
you've got a taste of the value, but you haven't mastered it yet, right? So this is one of the things that when I say this, I often see people go, and they have an aha moment. Inside of our own communities or even on the podcast or in conversations when I have conversations with creatives, they go, man, I'm just running out of people to pitch. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, it's just so hard to find companies that suck. Their content sucks. And I'm like, well, why don't you go pitch some of them that have great content? They go, well, they don't need me. They've got great content. I said, no. That's every reason why you should pitch them. They have a standard they have to uphold.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah. So this is my pitch. Literally rip me off. I'm deadpan looking down the camera right now.
Rip me off. Camera. We're looking at you.
Rip off this offer and rip off this outreach strategy. You can go to a brand and you can say to them, hey, your content is phenomenal. You're doing a great job. I'm actually really proud of how you guys are staying on top of trends, all this stuff. From my perspective on what a brand should be, you guys are doing really good at it. I also love your brand. I also know it's probably hard to keep up with that. Here's my offer on how I can help you guys consistently do what you have now set the bar in your brand to do. Here's the value I can give. Here's the price. We can start on Monday.
Right.
Okay. That's pitch number one. Pitch number two is, hey, I love what you guys do. I love your brand. Your product is really cool. I'm sure you know this. I'm sure I'm not the only person who knows this. You probably know that there is more potential for your brand if you were to get a little bit more active and better your content online. I mean, your products are super high quality. You think that your online experience should be as well, because we both know, Sally, you and I know that the purchase journey doesn't start when your product gets in somebody's hands anymore. They're not going into a store all that much and feeling your products. Like, the purchase journey starts on the internet when they see your brand. So I want to help you match the quality of your product with your online experience. Here's actually one or two other comparables of brands, bigger or smaller than you, that are doing it really well. And it looks like they're having a lot of success. I know you want that. I can be the key to help you do that. Here's the offer. Here's the price. We can start on Monday. Wow. It's the same thing. You're selling the same photo. You're selling the same content, but you're selling it to two different people who need they need the solution. They need the media for different reasons, right? So that is why it's so important. As we talked about earlier on the show, you've got to understand how what you do is of value, because it is a product that is a solution for somebody in their business. It's so important, like so important. So yeah, for anybody listening who's like, I don't believe I can pitch a brand that actually has everything together, that is every reason to go pitch them, because they need your help to keep that quota up.
And they usually have budget.
Yeah, they've proven they have budget. They've proven they pay for this stuff, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Right. That was a really cool question. I love that question.
Yeah.
Very good. This is so much knowledge. And what I'm really excited about is through these podcasts, through the episode, and obviously through Sociality membership, people are going to keep getting wisdom and insight like this all the time, because as things change and landscapes change, we're going to keep finding problems, figuring out pain points, and providing solutions. And so I think creators that are listening to this today, are going to lean into some of these things, like getting clear about who you are, driving in and figuring out that offer. And these are such great points. I know we're going to wrap up soon. This has been awesome, guys. Thank you so much. As we wrap up, you guys are downloading all this information, but how are you guys growing and pushing yourself to keep growing as individuals? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you reading? What are you listening to? What kind of habits or things are you attending, or where are you going? What are you doing to grow yourself so that you're always able to not only continue to grow, but continually be able to give out?
It's a great question.
It's a really good question. So, probably the same way we do it, but also we probably have slight differences. One, I mean, I've been in this industry for a decade. So a lot of the people I started with, and we were all just like valueless nobodies, as we've all become people that are a little bit more recognizable, and we've built value. We've built brands of value. We've definitely built products and systems of value as we've grown our businesses. I have a lot of friends that are phenomenal at what they do. You guys are some of them, right? We just had lunch. You guys are asking us questions. We got to ask you guys questions. I got to learn from you guys at lunch. So first things first, I think community on a very like peer-to-peer scale is really important for me. So definitely just like, how do I just cheer on my friends, continue to, in ways that I can, give them value. So as they grow what they're doing, they're also going to learn new things. And then I get to borrow from that. I get to borrow from their learnings, from their findings, and from their confidence. And then on a broader community sense, I mean, since I was 15, I've probably spent close to 80 to 100 grand on mastermind type things like Sociality. Actually, Sociality membership is way cheaper and way more affordable, and it's still got so much value in it compared to a lot of spends, a lot of things I've spent money on. But I put a ton of money. Growing up in small town Ontario, when I was like 18, I used to fly. It's actually how I met her. The reason why she's my wife is because I used to spend thousands of dollars, about $15,000 a year, maybe a little bit more than that, when I was like 18, to go to a in-person networking group of entrepreneurs, not even just creatives, entrepreneurs in LA. I didn't know where else to find any. I found some guy through a podcast that was running one. I was like, oh, sure. So I paid a ton of money to do that. Ended up meeting her in the LAX airport one day. Random, crazy story. Now I'm married to her. But I have consistently put myself in proximity with people who are, I hope, way better than I am at their thing, and I get to learn from them. So community is the answer. And that's why I love Socality, like you guys, and I love being a part of it. I love sharing and giving value where I can, because I have been so blessed by communities and been blessed by the Socality community that it's just the answer. Yeah. We also like to read. We also like to do other stuff like that. What would your answer be?
No, I would say I felt like I was a lone wolf when I was in my creative business early days. I felt like I maybe knew one other wedding photographer, and like I didn't know anybody. So I had no creative community whatsoever. And I think that bottlenecked me a lot. And I feel like, honestly, since getting married and like being able to meet more people in the industry and all this stuff, I think community is absolutely number one. Like when I have a question, I don't Google anymore. I actually ask my friends, which is so different than having to just Google, right? And then I would say educating myself in things that I'm not good at. Like I'm in a paid ads like course membership thing right now, and if you would have asked me like 3 years ago would I be doing that, I'm like probably not, but I'm like I just got to get myself out there and understand things that my clients are wondering about, right? Like actually jump into different industries and learn, and you know, whether it's like paid ads or something about socials and you're really only in the video space or whatever it is, getting like diverse in your skill set, even just to talk about it, is huge. And then, I mean, we love podcasts, we love books, we love all that stuff, but community really is just number one. Like it always and forever will be just like the best thing.
I was going to say, there's a really good analogy kind of for what we've been talking about too. And it's a great analogy for what you guys do. I don't know if you've seen it, but when I saw this clip online, I was like, oh my gosh, that is the best way to describe why we started Creativ Rise 5 years ago, which again, education platform to teach creatives business. Everything we do is in community format. And the reason why we do it is because I don't want people to fall through the cracks. The worst thing I could do is sell somebody a course and they never open it in their email. Like I don't want to do that. We want to do everything communally so people don't fall through the cracks. Same thing with the Socality, like you guys having the membership, people get seen, right? But I saw this video, it was Mr. Beast talking to somebody else. You guys might have seen this. And he said, someone asked him like, hey, like, you know, how do you look at growth or something or learning? And he said, well, imagine you get yourself an office space and you're super excited and you go in that office space every day and you grind. I mean, you're working 80-hour weeks. Where would you be at the end of the year? You would have grown. Like, good job, you've grown. Now, imagine you got an office space, but it was more like a co-working space and you had 3 other people in your industry all working out of the same room and you guys all worked 80-hour weeks. What's going to happen? When I learn something, I'm going to tell you guys. When you guys learn something, you're going to tell me. Where are you at the end of the year? You are 4 times further probably than the person who has isolated themselves. Even though they're working hard, they're isolated. You can work incredibly hard as a creative, as a small business owner, as a creator, and be pushing a rock uphill in the complete wrong direction for years, wondering why your hard work is not paying off. Hard work is not the answer. It's strategic work. It's putting the right amount of energy in the right spot, right? Like we always say at Creativ Rise, success comes from doing the right things in the right way for the right amount of time. You can do a lot of the right amount of time, you know, but on the wrong things and you're not going to succeed. So that's why I love Socality, right? You guys create environments where people can come in and get checked on their actions. Oh, that's how you've been pitching? I've been pitching like this. I'm actually going to try that. That sounds way more effective. You try it, 2 months later, you're like, well, I'm getting deals, right? It's only because you're in proximity with other people who get you, maybe are ahead of you. Even sometimes people that aren't ahead of you, they're actually behind you. Even you sharing what you do sometimes actually teaches you what you've been doing that's been working. So
true.
I'm a big fan of that. I think that's how, again, to go back to the question, that is how we try and live our lives from an education standpoint. It's like, let's not chamber ourselves, isolate ourselves, and just think that us reading or whatever is going to do the job. Like we need to be in community with people where we're actually sharing what everybody's learning and we're exponentially going to grow faster and it's just more enjoyable. You have someone to pick you up on the days when you're failing, something doesn't work, contract gets canceled or whatever. You have someone to cheer you on the days when you succeed and vice versa, right? It feels also really good to cheer on somebody else, right? That is a really good feeling to support somebody. So,
huge. And I think that's what I want people to hear from this is, you know, if you want to grow your business or have opportunities or scale, you really need to be investing in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you
100%.
have to
Absolutely.
advance yourself in your skill, your mindset, your ability, your relationships, because you can't deposit into other people if you have nothing
No.
to give.
100%.
And so expand yourself. So I want people to know that you guys are doing that. Like, you're just not hosting courses and telling people stuff. You're constantly advancing yourself and skill and knowledge and ability so you can really help people and solve people's problems. So I think that's super awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation.
It's been
I hope
so
that,
fun.
hasn't it been good? I hope that everybody listening out there is taking on this advice, writing down these notes.
Please,
send
implement
it to a friend.
Please,
you know, the friend that needs to hear this, re-listen again. But yeah, thanks for following along, and thanks so much, Joey and Christy. Where can people find you? How can they learn more about you?
Yeah, so we do a podcast just like this every week. Every Wednesday or Thursday, the episode goes live. Creativ Rise podcast on anywhere you get your podcast. It's also on YouTube through a video podcast. You can watch it. Creativrise.com has got everything on there. Tons of free resources about how you can grow your business. And then there's also some higher commitment opportunities. Well, obviously, that means paid opportunities where you got to put a little bit of money where your mouth is, and we'll teach you how to make as much money as you humanly can with your business. That's what we are pros in. That's what again, keeps us up at night trying to figure out how we can get better systems to do that. Instagram at Joey Speers.
Yep. At Christy J Spears.
Yeah. So check all that out, but also the membership.
There you
See you in
go.
the membership. If you're
Yes.
inside, just okay. Guys,
Everybody's-
here's my quick pitch for the membership.
Pitch us, Joey. Pitch
Scott
us.
did not ask me to do this. Tyler did not ask me to do this. We are mentors in the membership. And the more I learn about the membership, the more I'm like, this is ridiculous. It is so affordable and so valuable. Like, you guys have made a no-brainer opportunity for creatives. All the stuff you get when you sign up, like all the bonuses, like the preset packs and stuff from creatives that we all look up to, all that stuff. We've thrown in some really fun stuff in there. I'm going to keep that a secret until you get in, because you're going to really love it. Some really cool tools for you that are also there that will help you grow your business. The free trainings, like we're doing a workshop in an hour and a half or whatever, that will be recorded. That will be living in there forever. So much stuff. The events you guys do, I mean, it's
bringing
just a
people
no-brainer,
together.
and it's under $1 a day, guys. It's under $1 a day.
Yeah.
You can't buy a high quality SD card for that price these
No,
days.
you cannot.
You can't buy a camera lens.
No.
Your
And it'll
Adobe
probably
subscription,
correct anyway.
your Adobe subscription might even be more expensive than something like the Socality membership. Yet, here's the best part, guys. You can buy gear all day. The gear is useless unless you are getting paid to use it.
Amen.
Right? So you've got to invest a little bit of money,
That's it.
a lot of money, into something that's going to teach you how to get better at your craft and teach you how to get better at the business. And the Socality membership is guaranteed, like, put me on the record saying this. You guys are the most like approachable barrier to entry to learn all these things I've ever seen.
Right.
The amount of value you guys are giving at the cost is incredible. So good job, you guys.
Thank
I love
you.
seeing what you guys are doing.
Thank you for
Sign
doing
up.
that. And I will say, not only will people advance in their creative skills, we have had people find their spouse through Socality. So you could find a partner.
Double your income.
You could This is how you're going to double your income. You're going to find a spouse, and you're going to double your income.
Work smarter, not harder, girls.
This is it. Come on,
Hey,
ladies.
guys.
All
There's
the
some
single
girls making
ladies.
good money.
All the single ladies.
There you go.
Buy your membership. Buy your membership. Okay. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks.
Wait, where can they go to get a membership?
Oh,
too, by the way?
Socality.org. So I want to invite everybody to go to Socality.org, join in on the membership. It's such a good price. You're going to get access to all these mentors, masterminds. It's going to be incredible, and we're excited. So
Link in the
yes,
description. Of the
link in the
podcast.
description.
Yeah.
Socality.org. Anyway, awesome. You're going to do it. You guys check out Creativ Rise.
Hope to see you in the membership.
Yes.
So Socality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching.